All right, let's get to Argentina. And next week, I'll get to Sudan, Algeria, and South Africa. And maybe we'll do Yemen in the post game. So in 2001, there was riots in Argentina because there was a economic crisis created by the IMF World Bank policies that had plundered Argentina and sent it into an economic crisis. Then the Kirchners came into power. Nestor Kirchner first, then Cristina Kirchner. I'll be honest, I know less about Argentina than Brazil, as an example. I know that the Kirchners basically told the IMF and the World Bank to get lost, which was excellent. And they introduced Keynesian policies that stabilized Argentina and invested in the middle class and decreased poverty, and they were part of the pink tide. There was also a huge amount of bottom-up social organizing and workplace democracy that took place in Argentina in this period. Right now, Cristina Kirchner, who's in the Senate and has immunity because of that, there's the same process happening in Argentina right now to try to bar her from running for the presidency. There's a lot of Lula similarities. Now, I know less about that case, but if you don't see a pattern, we're talking about former presidents who represent the center left of some variety or another, who are being not allowed or attempted to not be allowed to run by a pliant judiciary on behalf of far-right leaders, in this case Macri, president of Argentina, who was elected a couple of years ago. What does that trend tell you? Now, we'll get to more of that later, but let's just take this report in a second from Al Jazeera, because one of the frames you will always hear in U.S. media, anytime a populist of any variety in Latin America, any variety, including, Lula, for God's sake, who when they covered back in his prime, they all were giving him all sorts of credit for Brazil's great economic performance. But Kirchner or Chavez or whoever, well, these populists came in and they ruined the economy. Well, for who? I know that there was literally a private equity investor that had Argentina in court in the United States to freeze government assets. That stopped after Macri came into power because he was willing to reset economic policy along World Bank and IMF lines. They're back in Argentina. So the economy is flourishing, right? Well, maybe not. Check this report out.
Across Argentina, tens of thousands of people took their anger and frustration to the streets in a day of protest against cuts to benefits. They blocked access roads and here in Buenos Aires demonstrated outside supermarkets. The protests come in the midst of rising prices and continued job losses.
It's very, very bad. We're seeing more poverty, more people at the soup kitchens. The truth is, the money doesn't buy anything. There's not enough to eat.
Industrial production is down, unemployment and poverty levels are up. Vehicle sales are half what they were this time last year, and all the major car plants are suspending workers. Inflation continues at more than 30% a year, while the peso falls against the US dollar. Many analysts say President Mauricio Macri's policies are not working.
Clearly, the opening up of the economy, the deregulation, the opening up to speculative capital flows, everything that Macri has done has only sunk the economy into the pit. And so that has to be reversed.
So there you have it. Now, again, World Bank and IMF policies work what they're designed to do. That's a natural byproduct. If you starve the public sector and you rewrite regulation to favor foreign direct investment and multinationals, that's going to increase poverty, hurt labor unions, and yes, ultimately harm purchasing power. That's true. There is both the broader socialist case against an economy that is designed to disempower most people, and then there's also a Keynesian argument, which is if you do these things, you will not have a consumer class, and that will undermine the economy. I think in today's political phase, markets reach their limits literally in terms of what are new things available to create markets around. You see a new phase. I mean, Africa's an area because there's a lot of natural resources there that can still be destroyed. And then here it's more and more abstract, right? Like, oh, well, what if it was a place where you ordered food, but you also got a book recommendation? This kind of silly tech economy stuff. But on the basic level of how you balance that out, the options are getting more and more limited. And the answer to the right, from the right, is going to be, well, go ahead, go protest. There's no reason, no mistake that Macri is deploying new military-oriented policing methods that supposedly focus on drug cartels, but will no doubt have major implications for any other sources of organizing or power. So that's, again, just like in the opening commentary, that's how the economics and the capital flows connect with every other category of repression. And this is, these guys are showing you the game right now. It's really clear. And we got to stop with all this, toxic nonsense in our own ranks and get focused on what's really going on here, because this is serious. I mean, this is a play for keeps time. And it's always been, clearly for certain communities more than others, obviously. But this also is a global play for keeps time. You've just watched a Michael Brooks show video, and you can watch all of our full main live shows every Tuesday night at around 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and subscribe to get all of the clips you want. We're covering the globe. We're focusing on international relations, the intellectual dark web. We're having fun. We're doing deep dives with a lot of amazing guests. Of course, become a patron for the whole thing at patreon.com/TMBS, or subscribe to this YouTube channel and help us keep growing and get that content out there. Subscribe below.